Good afternoon and welcome to today's lecture. Today we'll be talking about the concepts of educational methodology. Let's begin with the introduction. Educational methodology, it refers to the systematic approaches, strategies, and techniques that educators use to facilitate effective teaching and learning. It encompasses various components, which includes the instructional design, the classroom management, assessment methods, and the integration of educational theories from disciplines such as psychology, sociology, and philosophy. A core distinction in educational methodology lies between traditional, which is the teacher-centered approaches, and the modern learner, which is the learner-centered approaches. Several factors influence the choice of methodology, and this includes the educational goals, the nature of the subject matter, the characteristics of the learners, available resources, and the broader social and cultural context. Now let's look at the learning outcomes. By the end of this unit, you will be able to 1. Describe key concepts and components of educational methodology. And number 2, you will be able to compare and contrast traditional, teacher-centered, and modern, learner-centered instructional approaches. Analyze the factors that influence methodological choices in education. Now let's look at the key concepts and components of educational methodologies. And the concepts of educational methodologies includes the teaching strategies. And when we talk about the teaching strategies, we're talking about the overall plans or approaches used to achieve learning objectives. For example, lectures, group work, inquiry-based learning. And then we have the learning processes. And we're talking about how students acquire knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values. And one of the concepts again is instructional design. Here we're talking about planning and organizing content, materials, and assessments for effective teaching. We also have learning environment. And here we're talking about the physical, social, and emotional context in which learning takes place, including classroom setup, teacher-student relationships, and available resources. Now, we also have the components of educational methodology, and this includes the teaching methods. And here we're talking about the specific techniques that are used in the classroom. And this includes like lectures, discussions, role-playing, or project-based learning. One of the components again is the curriculum design. We're talking about the organization and sequencing of content. And this includes the subject matter, learning activities, and assessment methods. We also have assessment and evaluation as one of the components of educational methodologies. Here we're talking about the tools and procedures used to measure students' learning and effectiveness of instructional design and strategies. We also have learning environment, and this we're talking about the physical, social, and emotional context in which learning takes place, including classroom setup, teacher-student relationships, and available resources. We also have learner characteristics. Here we're talking about factors such as age, background, learning style, and motivation that influence how students respond to different methodologies. Now let's look at the types of instructional methodologies. 1, we have the teacher-centered methods, and this includes the lecture methods. Traditional and widely used, the teacher delivers content directly. We also have the demonstration methods. In this method, the teacher shows how to do something. For example, science experiments. We also have the direct instruction. This is the structured, scripted lessons with a focus on specific lessons and skills. And number two types of educational methodology is the learner-centered methods. And under this, we have the inquiry-based learning. Here, students explore questions, problems to develop understanding. And under this, we also have the problem-based learning. Here, learning occurs through solving complex, real-world problems. And under the learner-centered methods, again, we have the project-based learning. And here, students complete projects over time, integrating knowledge and skills. We also have the experiential learning, and this emphasizes on learning through experience, reflections, and applications. Now, let's also look at the factors that influence educational methodology and its choices. Methodological choices in education are dynamic and context sensitive. Effective educators consider a combination of philosophical, practical, and contextual factors to tailor instruction and meet learners' needs and also achieve desired outcomes. Some of the factors that influence educational methodological choices include 1. Educational philosophy. We also have learning objectives, learner characteristics, and classroom environment and resources. Now, in summary, this unit introduces the concept of educational methodology, laying the foundation for understanding how teaching and learning processes are structured and implemented. The unit explains educational methodology as an organized approaches, strategies, and techniques used by educators to facilitate learning. It draws on various disciplines such as psychology, philosophy, and sociology to shape instructional practices that meet diverse learners' needs. This unit explores the evolution of teaching methods from traditional teacher-centered models to modern learner-centered approaches, and it highlights the factors that influences methodological choices, such as educational objectives, learning environments, and students' characteristics. Thank you all for listening, and God bless you.